Hi, I'm Lola. This is The Sims 4, and today you will be watching me redesign the base game museum in Willow Creek. The moon, moon, why can't I say it? The okay, Municipal. Oh God. Okay, I'm just gonna let that go and move on with my life. Apparently, I cannot pronounce. Manipisa. Oh my God. Well, that's a little embarrassing, but I think maybe funnier than not. Anyways, it's the Muses Museum in Willow Creek, and with this redesign, what it means that I did that whole. I actually don't know the name of this neighborhood, but it's done. We did the gym, we did the um, Blue Velvet Bar and the library. And now at the very end is the museum, which, by the way, it was also not rebuilt in order. So this is, I think, my 14th video, if I remember correctly, because I do number them kind of as I go along just so that I have a reference of what's what. And yeah, I needed to leave this one off for a while because I genuinely didn't know what to do. Now, in a previous video, I did ask what y'all thought I should do, and I would like to revisit those ideas actually. I don't know what they are yet because none of those videos are published as of this speaking uh, engagement. But 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 this is just base game, so it's fine. I actually already redid the museum in Oasis Spring, and that was actually quite a lot of fun. But that one is a science museum. So there's a lot of rockets, and there are a handful of art pieces because it had to stay a museum. But there are fossils and some of the rocks, crystals, not rocks, and all of the frogs as well as the fish. So, proper science museum. But that's not what's happening here. So, why am I talking about that build? So, as you can see on the screen, I actually considered this to be also a wedding venue. I thought maybe I can do like a dual experience here where um clearly it can't be both at the same time, but if there's enough stuff, you can easily just go into the lot type before you get here or while you're here if you have mods, and just change it if you need it to be a wedding venue, or if you want it to be a museum, then let it be a museum. But as you can see on the screen, oh, those are suggestions? Oh, it does say optional. I just noticed that. Anyways, it's all kind of bugged out no matter what. Like it says it was like 13 out of 0 for or it's already gone, but like some item, probably maybe chairs or something. Doesn't matter. Like it freaked me out. So I was like, you know what? Let's just make this a museum and we'll figure out a wedding venue elsewhere. And that's what happened. I do try to bring out the arches when I get around to the yard, but I actually remove them at the very end anyway. So there is no proper way to have a wedding here and without you redesigning my redesign. But nevertheless, I think it came out pretty good. Looking back, I would change a few things, even though I built this yesterday. But again, I struggle a lot with the base game. Something about it is just difficult, you know? And even though I used to be a web designer for over a decade, I also struggle with kind of like the Sims aesthetic sometimes. Like some of the builds are like quite good, but there's just something that is a little bit off in them. And I understand that's me, and my kind of like interior design skills in this game. But overall, it came out pretty good. And I'm not sure how I feel about the stereotypical gender color bathrooms. Because here's why I do this. And I've been doing this for a little while for my own self, and I will be doing this in community builds moving forward, unless somebody can help me out with like a slightly better idea. Because here's the problem. If they don't look gendered, but there is a gendered door. So if I unwittingly click on the male toilet for my female Sims to go to the bathroom, they won't actually go into the female bathroom instead. And that drives me insane. Like, I don't want to have to double check which bathroom is which every single time, which is why I just make them pink and blue. So I hope you um, don't mind that, because like I don't like the stereotypical colors. I think it's cheap and kind of boring, to be honest, even in the game. But it's more like I do it for like the usability of the play, you know, or the gameplay. So if you mind it, change it. If you don't, awesome. Anyways, I also, so like, I was still actually thinking that this is going to be a wedding venue when I'm doing this kind of like sitting room right here. I always also feel weird about, granted, it's just a video game, so it doesn't totally matter, but like, I feel weird with like the bathroom doors being kind of out in the open. And what I mean by that is like, originally when I wanted this to be a wedding venue, I thought about the ground floor to be like the party area where it's like, the tables, the piano, like stereos, all of that. But so like having just like the bathroom doors right then and there just seemed a little bit off-putting in a way. So I wanted some kind of barrier right in front of it. And I figured if it's a wedding venue, which I just changed it back to a museum, it should probably have some type of like sitting area. And yes, the bathroom stalls themselves don't open up to the whole area, but it just kind of ruins the vibe somehow. I can't elaborate more than that. So hopefully maybe you know what I'm talking about. But if you don't worry about it, because now we're moving on to the museum anyways. And it was slight struggle on what to put in here, because I don't want to copy the Oasis Spring Museum. That was the science one. I wanted it to be more artsy, but there is very limited amount of art, and I had 3 stories to fill, which, yes, it's a problem I gave myself by a sort of accident. I thought having a third floor would make the second floor more interesting with the staircases. That's all it really was. And I was like, if this was 2 venues, right? The wedding venue and the museum, I thought maybe I could do all of the art on the second floor, and maybe have like the art classes upstairs. Um, that does not happen exactly like that. I have the art class set up in the back of that little kind of, it's not an alcove, uh, but it's behind the bathroom, and behind the staircase. It's there. So it's like a kind of art classroom setup. I actually think that came out super great. And like I mentioned in the beginning, there are a few things that I would change now that I've looked back on this footage. And one of them is changing the colors of the, like, I made the back room too bright. I enjoy the part where I make the lights kind of like pink and I think orange in the end, because I played around with the colors for a little bit. And then I added more kind of the ceiling lights to just brighten up the room because it felt a touch too dark. But I think I made it a little bit too bright. It just would be more interesting if it had 2 less pot lights. But regardless, so here I went ham with all of the pride flags, um, and I kind of just kept it very simple otherwise, with the bigger or the sized up images in the middle with like Bob Pancakes and things like that, all of the like TV show-esque posters. I do add the little gnomes. I thought that was a nice touch, and I put the rest of them upstairs. And I do enjoy the entrance. So I keep all of these kind of purpley, which is kind of fun. I don't want it to be too um too many colors. But then I really like that kind of dark. Yeah, this area. This is where we're gonna do the art studio. Anyways, really briefly on the rug, I really enjoyed the like kind of deep yellow, very rich. Actually, really great color scheme for that rug. But yeah. Anyway, so back to I guess, yeah. Back to the words, girl. Find them. Back to the art class area. Um, so I kind of set up a little staging area, and it's just going to be a bunch of terracotta potted plants. Okay, so that's so weirdly, I'm not sure why, but it is what it is. And I actually think I really like how it came out, honestly. It's I would actually enjoy coming here to like have my sim learn because I think it gives kind of more context that like you're not just on a random easel in the middle of like one of the worlds, or the easel that was here before. It was what, one or two of them. It was very, and it's like kind of hard to use when it's just one or two because like there's always somebody else here and you gotta like kick them out, and it's just like a whole process. It's like kind of takes you out of the gameplay in a way. So like there's a total of 10 easels because there's also four upstairs. So there's more than enough to go around here. But like I also added all the rugs to make it kind of artsy fartsy. Like I I think this is really precious in a way. And yeah, now we're getting to the lights. So like I like these big ass pot lights. They're not pot lights, stage lights. That's the word. And I play around with the colors for a minute or two here. And I like the way those plants look, but see, like now it's just a little too bright. Like you can still kind of see it. The focus was still on the plants, but it was kind of washed out. So yeah, judging myself over here. And now we're up to the second floor. The second floor was a challenge. Yes, it was. Like with everything else when it comes to base game anime, apparently. So, at first I thought maybe let's do something more botanical and also sculptural. That's why I have all the sculptures on the left-hand side. And I got distracted doing the planters over here, which by the way, these literally those three, they end up going at the very end because I needed to move this statue towards closer towards the railing. And I fidgeted around with a couple of things, and now we're back to the second floor again. So that's why I have all the sculptures and all the sized up plans. But I do take the step back and I do keep a good chunk of those plants still, but I just kind of focus on the walls and I add a lot more. So I kind of create like a mosaic gallery wall type of thing on both sides of these walls because especially they don't have windows here, right? And that was actually on purpose so that I could put art here. And it came out all right. It's just nothing fancy, nothing to write home about or anything like that. In my opinion, I suppose. I should be probably a little bit nicer to myself. This is like I keep saying, base game is a challenge for myself. So honestly, the fact that I was able to fill this out fairly well should be an accomplishment. So go me. And but yeah, it's pretty much what you're looking at right now. So I try not to reuse too many of the artwork on this side. Like I get creative, I add a couple of mirrors, like the one on top with the little kind of looks like a vase, to be honest. There's little round things on the side. But yeah, it comes out fairly well. And of course we have to have the sad clown, tragic clown, my bad. And that so hmm. So I also, this is where I put two more easels on each side of the wall, kind of facing the artwork. Like maybe you came here to like sketch something, this was more realistic gameplay. So like study the artwork that's actually here instead of like learning about it downstairs. And now this is where I'm gonna start fidgeting with the lighting upstairs as well. And I will be putting those easels in honestly just a second. The lighting here, I wanted it to keep kind of simple. I don't actually want to make a similar mistake that I did downstairs. Ironically, kind of consciously, I was like, let's not overdo the lighting. And, but, you know, hindsight. And this is where I add the rest of the gnomes before going up to the third floor. Actually, before I go up to the third floor, I just finished the swatches of everything. That's kind of how I approached this build instead of, for example, the blue velvet, where it was kind of in stages. First, let's do the layout, then let's do of the building, then let's do the layout of the space in terms of furniture, and then let's make sure all the colors and swatches are here. So I kind of do that anyways, but like less actively, I think. So, up here by this point, I genuinely did not know what to do. Like, I thought maybe about adding a bar, but I don't want everybody to be like running up three flights of stairs all the time, like all the townies, I mean. Like, I don't want them to be hidden. So, I kind of kept it quite minimal and I just kept the couches here with some more flowers. I really, really also enjoyed that blue swatch of the couches and the ottomans downstairs. I think it's one of the prettiest swatches we have of anything in this game, period. It's just something about that shade of blue is just mwah. And as far as regrets go, looking back on this footage, I didn't put anything on the walls on the third floor. Now, it's not like, this is a museum, every single nook and cranny needs to be filled, but it just looks a tiny bit empty. Like maybe instead of the extra chandeliers on the third floor, it should have been kind of wall lights, something like that. And but I do appreciate how the lighting looks on the third floor with the roof, sunroof, which I just realized that that gigantic sized up chandelier is actually hanging from glass. But it's a video game, so it's okay. And now we are towards the end of the the build. No, we're not. We still have 10 minutes to go, almost. So now we're at the outside of the build. So I also struggled with the exterior facade of this building because I wanted it to be kind of lightish. I didn't want it to be too dark. Like I thought about actually making it black. I thought about making it um, green. I thought about making it red, but that's all that those are the exact same colors and facades I used for the remaining three builds on this tree. So I felt like it was just a little bit too redundant to reuse that, or even if it was like a different brick that was black, it's still a black brick. So I settled actually at the very, very end. Like I also, sorry, multiple thoughts at once. This is a brick that I settled with, so it's like the whitewashed one, kind of slightly falling apart um look to it, right? So that is what we keep. But earlier, if you saw, I did like a dark brown siding, and I actually enjoyed that quite a lot. I felt like it could have like looked good on the street, but it seemed a little bit too cabin-like on the build, to be honest. The building itself is just a rectangle. What makes it a little bit more interesting is the rounded kind of entrance in the here and the rounded painting room in the back. It's not the most structurally interesting building, right? So that is why it kind of looked very easily like a cabin with a brown siding. But it all kind of worked out. Here in the front, I do kind of create like the symmetric entrance where there will be kind of planters for trees on either side. Not like big trees, but what are they called? Cypress trees. That's the one. Had to like pause and Google on that one, but so on one hand they feel a little bit like too much. Like I said, I am a little bit critical of myself and how this came out. Like overall, I think it does feel like, you know, I've said it in a few other videos, for lack of a better word, this is a community lot, so that's why this feels off, but like lived in. Whereas the default EA lots feel uninviting and severely empty, like extremely hollow. And this is definitely not hollow. There's plenty of artwork, there's plenty of places to go and hang out. Um, Manually. There's not too many things to do here, but you can definitely hang out. That's for sure. And I do also struggle with this side area as well. Like I wanted it to be kind of like fenced in, but since we can't actually add fences at the edge of the lot, I try to mess around with like the debug fences and the tool mod. Like I appreciate that it matches like the little kind of fence that I have by the cypresses. Yes, okay, cypresses. I keep on thinking cicadas, both C words, right? But it just it was too finicky. And like looking back, actually this might have worked. That's not too bad, but I just didn't like uh how the ground looked. So that's why I kind of settled for these hedges here. And I had them also in the back right there so that it just looks a little bit more cohesive and less out of place by itself on that side because I do not continue them anywhere else. But But yeah, now we're up to the side yard. And yeah, like I said, I am pulling out the art just because I thought maybe this is where the kind of like the party area could be. But honestly, I kind of like abandoned that plan very quickly. Not intentionally, or sorry, not, yes, what? Not intentionally. Uh-huh, that is what I meant to say. But it was just like the space is actually not that big once I start getting around to it because I did want it to have a pond with ducks and things like that. And I did want it to have nature as well so that it actually looks like a garden. And with that said, there was very little room for anything else. But before I do that, I took the opportunity to put more of the light bugs around in the actual pond. I think I also put a couple of swans there too. And like, I really want to have some type of like maze garden in here, but again, no space. So I actually do keep that little rectangle in there and I just add more plants in there so that it looks like it's more like a more designated space. But besides the bird feeder, there ain't anything else in there. So it's just like more like a cool place that like, you can walk through and like I was thinking maybe you can do like a little picnic, but I thought honestly, let's just make it a little bit designed so that it looks like, the museum put some effort into it. That's really kind of what it boiled down to. I actually would enjoy redoing this one more time with full pack access. I think now that I've done a handful, if not two handfuls, like I said, this is the 14th lot, right? 14th video somewhere or there. I know the folder for this video is number 14. That's how I got that number. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is having all of the packs, I think would make this even more cooler and interesting. Like you saw me try and then very quickly give up. Like I don't want to add too much foliage to the building itself. And honestly, I think it would have looked kind of poor and crappy with just a base game foliage. If I had access to maybe where was it? It was, I think, Island Living, where we had that like really thick and also flowery foliage, or even some of the Wisterias we got from Cottage Living would have looked much better here. So that's why I didn't do anything in terms of like putting any of the greenery on the building itself. And here we go. That's when I make it symmetrical. Or, nope, lied to you. Um, I'm gonna make it symmetrical. Here's, I added like the plans for it. I just wanted to fidget around with the fencing. And honestly, even when I was doing it, I had mixed feelings on using this kind of fence because it looks a little bit too rustic, but I like that it was like it had the vines on it. Like that's why I chose it. But overall, I think the garden is very pretty. I think it would have been a great place to have like a picnic basket here. So like maybe if I were to redo this, like I would remove that little rectangle with the fenced in one and added more picnic tables and kind of more hanging out on spaces, like maybe a barbecue even, not that you need one for a museum, or just completely turn this into half a museum, half a wedding venue. Because also the thing about making a wedding venue in base game, you only have so many items, you know? Especially if you don't have the free holiday pack either, it's quite limiting. But we're coming to towards the end. We have less than a minute, including screenshots. And this is where I kind of put the final touches, which are just trees. And yeah, this was an interesting build, actually, but I hope you enjoyed it. So I appreciate you watching this. Like I said, this is the fourth video that's gonna go out live on the YouTube channel, but it was a pleasure to have you come hang out with me for the last 25 minutes. Thanks.
Bye bye.